I'm shaking, sitting across from a social worker in a cold Fort Worth office, the kind of place that smells like stale coffee and broken dreams. Her eyes soft but searching, her voice gentle. Olivia, can you tell me what happened? I'm 14, my hands trembling, my stomach hollow, my words stuck in my throat like a knot I can't untie. Because how do I explain that he told me I was a burden? That I stopped eating to prove I wasn't? That he called the cops on my brother Caleb, framing him for abuse, all to destroy us? All to win a game I didn't even know we were playing? I'm Olivia, and this isn't just a story about survival. It's about how I took down the man who broke me, who broke my family, who thought he could get away with it, but didn't count on me fighting back. Didn't count on the truth coming out. Didn't count on a confession tape that would unravel his lies. It all started with Craig, my brother's roommate. A charming sociopath who slithered into our lives after Mom died. A man who seemed too perfect, too rich, too observant, the kind of guy who'd smile while he stabbed you in the back. The kind of guy who knew exactly how to twist the knife. You're draining him, Olivia, he told me one night. His voice smooth as a Texas sunset. His words sharp as a longhorn's horns, cutting deep into my already fragile heart, making me feel like a weight Caleb couldn't carry. A burden he didn't deserve. A sister who was holding him back. A sister who didn't belong. I was 13, grieving, lost, and I believed him. Believed I was the problem. Believed I had to fix it. So I stopped eating. Stopped taking up space, stopped being a burden. My body shrinking, my health fading, my world darkening. All to prove I wasn't the weight Craig said I was. All to prove I was worth keeping. Worth loving. But Craig wasn't done. He called the cops, an anonymous tip, claiming Caleb was abusing me, claiming my weight loss was his fault, claiming my brother, the one who sold his signed baseball glove to buy me a bike, the one who held me together after Mom died, was the monster, not him. I'm sitting here, trembling, the social worker's pen scratching paper, her questions a blur, my mind racing, because I know the truth. I know Craig's lies. I know he's the one who broke me, who framed Caleb, who turned our lives into a nightmare, but I don't have proof. Not yet. Not until a confession tape surfaces. A tape that'll expose him. A tape that'll set us free. A tape that'll show the world who the real monster is. How do you fight a manipulator who's taken everything, when the truth is your only weapon, but no one's listening? That's the question I faced as I sat in that office, trembling, waiting for a chance to tell my story. A story that started with a brother who'd do anything for me. The story that started with a brother who'd do anything for me, the one I'm trembling to tell in that Fort Worth office, began with a bond that was my lifeline long before Craig's lies tore us apart. I'm Olivia, 14 now, but let's rewind to 2022. I'm 12. Caleb's 19. Just the two of us in our small Fort Worth apartment, a place that still held the faint scent of Mom's lavender candles, even after cancer took her away. A place where the Texas sun slipped through cracked blinds, casting golden streaks on walls lined with old photos. Photos of us as kids. Photos of happier times before grief became our shadow. Before Mom's death left us hollow. Caleb was my rock. The kind of brother who'd sacrifice everything to keep me smiling. Working double shifts at the Whataburger on Camp Bowie Boulevard just to pay our rent. His hands rough from flipping burgers. His brown eyes tired but soft. His voice steady through exhaustion. We're gonna be okay, Liv. I believed him. Even when I didn't believe in myself. Even when the weight of loss felt too heavy for a kid like me to carry. Even when the world seemed too big, too cold, too cruel for us to survive on our own. One day, our bikes were stolen from the apartment complex. Mine was a pink hand-me-down I'd loved since I was 8. My escape, my freedom, and I sobbed for hours, my chest tight, my world shrinking without it. Caleb didn't hesitate. He sold his signed Rangers baseball glove, a collectible he'd cherished since he was 10. A piece of his childhood he'd held onto through everything, just to buy me a new blue bike with a bell that rang like hope. His smile brighter than the Texas sun as he handed it to me. This is what brothers are for. That bike, that sacrifice, that love, it was everything to me. A reminder of Caleb's heart. A heart that held me together through Mom's death. Through the grief that followed. Through the loneliness that crept in like a Texas summer heat. Slow and suffocating. A heart that made me feel safe, seen, loved, even when I felt unworthy. Even when I was breaking. Even when Craig's words would later cut so deep I'd stop eating to prove I wasn't a burden. Caleb was my protector. My hero. My family. The one who'd do anything for me. The one I'd do anything to save when Craig framed him for abuse. When the cops came. When our world turned upside down. How do you hold on to a bond that's your lifeline when a manipulator moves in to tear it apart? That's what we'll face as Craig, the charming sociopath, enters our lives. Craig, the charming sociopath, entered our lives ready to play his twisted game. A game that would tear apart the bond between Caleb and me. A bond that had been my lifeline through grief and hardship. It's late 2022. I'm 12. Caleb's 19. and we're still in our Fort Worth apartment. The Texas air heavy with the weight of Mom's absence. The kind of heavy that feels like a humid summer night, suffocating and endless. Caleb's been working himself to the bone at Whataburger on Camp Bowie Boulevard. His hands calloused, his eyes tired, but his heart still open, still trying to make our little family work. Still trying to be the brother I need, the guardian I rely on, the one who'd do anything to keep me safe, to keep us together, to keep our home afloat, even when the bills pile up. Even when the grief lingers like a shadow we can't outrun. Caleb decides to take in a roommate to ease the rent burden, and that's when Craig shows up. A 22-year-old with a smile too perfect, a trust fund too big, and eyes too sharp. The kind of guy who walks into a room like he owns it. The kind of guy you'd meet at a Rangers game and think he's got it all together. The kind of guy who knows exactly how to charm, to manipulate, to watch. He's idle, never working, always lounging on our couch, his expensive sneakers propped up, his voice smooth as he talks about his connections in Dallas, his plans to make it big, his generosity in paying rent up front, a generosity that feels like a trap, a generosity that makes Caleb trust him, makes Caleb think he's a friend, makes Caleb think he's safe. But I see it. Even at 12, I see the way Craig watches us, watches me. His eyes lingering too long, his smile too sharp, his questions too pointed, like he's studying us, like he's waiting for a crack to exploit, like he's a predator circling, ready to strike, ready to use our pain against us. Craig's charm is a mask that hides a sociopath who sees our grief as a game, who sees me as a pawn, who sees Caleb as a target, a mask that'll slip when he tells me I'm a burden, when he sets his plan in motion, when he turns our lives into a nightmare. How do you spot a manipulator hiding behind a perfect smile when he's already in your home, in your life, in your head? That's what we'll face as Craig's weaponized comment cuts deeper than we ever expected. Craig's weaponized comment cut deeper than we ever expected. A blade hidden behind his perfect smile. A blade that would slice through my fragile heart and set his twisted game in motion, tearing at the bond Caleb and I had fought so hard to hold on to. It's early 2023. I'm 13, Caleb's 19, and we're still in our Fort Worth apartment. The Texas air thick with the weight of Mom's absence, the kind of weight that feels like a humid summer night, heavy and inescapable, the kind that makes every breath a little harder, every day a little darker. Craig's been living with us for a few months now. His charm a constant mask, his eyes always watching, always waiting. His presence a shadow I can't shake. A shadow that feels like it's closing in, like it's waiting for the perfect moment to strike, to break us apart, to win whatever sick game he's playing. It happens one evening, the apartment quiet. Caleb at a late shift at Whataburger. The Texas sun setting outside, casting long shadows through the cracked blinds. The kind of shadows that feel like they're hiding something sinister. Something dangerous. Something I can't see but can feel in my bones. I'm in the kitchen, pouring a glass of water, my hands shaky, my grief still raw, my heart still aching for Mom, when Craig leans against the doorway, his smile too smooth, his voice too soft. "You're draining him, Olivia." The words hit like a punch, sharp and sudden, cutting through me like a longhorn's horn, making my chest tighten, my breath catch, my world tilt. "Caleb's working himself to death for you," he says, his tone dripping with false concern, his eyes glinting with something darker. "You're a burden. Don't you see that? If you really loved him, you'd stop being so needy." I freeze, my glass slipping, water spilling on the counter, my mind racing, my heart breaking, because I believe him. Because I'm already so fragile. Because I already feel like I'm too much, too heavy, too broken for Caleb to carry. I start suppressing everything, blaming myself for Caleb's exhaustion, for our struggles, for the grief we can't escape, my guilt a weight I can't shake, a weight that grows heavier with every word Craig said, a weight that makes me decide I need to be less, to take up less space, to stop being a burden. I stop eating, skipping meals, pushing away the Whataburger fries Caleb brings home, my stomach growling, my body shrinking, my world darkening, all to prove I'm not the burden Craig says I am, all to prove I'm worth keeping, worth loving, worth saving. But Craig's words are just the beginning. A weapon meant to break me, to break us, a weapon that'll lead to a collapse Caleb can't ignore. How do you survive a manipulator's words when they cut so deep you start breaking yourself to escape them? That's what we'll face as Caleb discovers my collapse, revealing the damage Craig's already done. Caleb discovering my collapse revealed the damage Craig had already done. A damage that started with the manipulator's words so sharp they cut me open. Words that made me break myself to escape the guilt of being a burden. It's mid-2023, I'm 13, Caleb's 19, and we're still in our Fort Worth apartment. The Texas air thick with summer heat, the kind that feels like a weight on your chest. The kind that mirrors the heaviness I've been carrying since Craig told me I'm draining Caleb, since I stopped eating to prove I'm not. Since my body started shrinking, my world narrowing, my health fading, my stomach a constant knot of hunger and shame, my reflection a stranger I don't recognize, a stranger who's barely there, a stranger who's disappearing to be less, to be nothing, to be free of the burden Craig made me believe I am. It happens one evening. Caleb coming home early from Whataburger, his uniform still smelling of fries, his brown eyes tired but soft, his voice calling out, "Liv, I'm back." I'm in my room, sitting on the floor, my head spinning, my hands trembling, my body too weak to stand, too weak to hide the truth anymore, too weak to keep pretending I'm okay. Caleb knocks, then opens the door, his smile fading faster than a Texas sunset, his eyes widening, his voice breaking. "Olivia, what's wrong?" He drops to his knees, his hands reaching for me, his face pale, his breath hitching as he sees me. Really sees me. My ribs poking through my shirt, my cheeks hollow, my skin gray, my body a ghost of the girl I used to be. A girl he'd fought so hard to protect. A girl he'd sold his Ranger's glove to make smile. A girl he loves more than anything. I can't hold it in anymore. My voice cracking, my tears spilling, hot and fast. Craig said I'm draining you, Caleb. He said I'm a burden, so I stopped eating. I didn't want to be too much, I didn't want to hurt you. Caleb's face crumples, his arms pulling me close, his voice a whisper. "Oh, Liv, no. No, you're not a burden. You're my sister. You're my everything." He's crying now, his tears mixing with mine, his heart breaking, his guilt a mirror of my own, because he didn't see it, didn't know, didn't stop it. And now I'm breaking in his arms, a collapse he can't ignore, a revelation he can't unhear, a truth that'll spark a rage he can't contain. How do you fight a manipulator who's already broken the one you love when the damage is done and the battle's just begun? That's what we'll face as Caleb kicks Craig out, igniting a revenge that'll cost us more than we ever imagined. Caleb kicking Craig out ignited a revenge that had cost us more than we ever imagined. A fire sparked by the revelation of my collapse, by the truth of how Craig's words had broken me. A fire that had burned hotter with every step of this twisted battle. It's mid-2023. I'm 13, Caleb's 19, and we're in our Fort Worth apartment. The Texas air is still thick with summer heat. The kind that feels like it's pressing down on you. The kind that mirrors the weight of Caleb's rage. A rage I've never seen before. A rage that's been building since he found me on the floor. Ribs jutting out, tears spilling, my voice breaking as I told him Craig called me a burden. As I told him I stopped eating to prove I wasn't. As I told him I was fading to be less. To be nothing. To be free of the guilt Craig planted in my heart. That night, Caleb confronts Craig. His voice a storm, his brown eyes blazing, his hands clenched. "You did this to her. You made her stop eating. You broke her. You get out now." Craig's on the couch, his expensive sneakers propped up, his smile too smooth, his voice mocking. "She's a kid, Caleb. She's dramatic. Don't overreact." But Caleb's done. His rage a tidal wave, his hands grabbing Craig's shirt, dragging him to the door, throwing him out into the Texas night. Craig's belongings flying after him, his laughter cold, his eyes glinting with something dangerous, something vengeful. "You'll regret this, Caleb. I'll make sure of it." The door slams, the apartment shaking, Caleb's chest heaving, his tears falling, his guilt a mirror of my own, because he didn't see it sooner, because he let Craig in, because he couldn't protect me from the monster we'd trusted, the monster who'd been living in our home, breaking us apart from the inside. But Craig isn't done. Within 24 hours, the cops are at our door, their knocks loud, their voices sharp. "We got a tip about abuse, open up." Caleb's face pales, his hands shaking, my heart racing, because we know it's Craig, we know he's called them, we know he's framed Caleb, claiming my weight loss is his fault, claiming my brother, the one who sold his Ranger's glove to buy me a bike, the one who held me together after Mom died, is the abuser, not him. The cops look at me, their eyes searching, their questions a blur, my body a ghost of who I was, my silence a scream I can't let out, because I know the truth, but I don't have proof. Not yet. Not until we fight back. Not until we take him down. How do you fight a manipulator who's weaponized the system against you when every move feels like a trap? That's what we'll face as CPS interviews me, putting Caleb's custody at risk. CPS interviewing me put Caleb's custody on the line. A trap Craig had carefully set, just days after being thrown out of our apartment. Just days after he realized I'd collapsed under the weight of his poison words. It's mid-2023. I'm 13. Caleb's 19. And we're still living in our cramped Fort Worth apartment, where the summer heat hangs heavy like a hand on your chest. That same pressure lives inside me now, an unrelenting fear that I might lose Caleb, the brother who gave up everything to keep me afloat, the one who sold his prized baseball glove to buy me a bike, the one who held me through every sleepless night after Mom died. He's the only family I have left. The CPS interview happens at Westlake High, inside a small windowless meeting room. The air is cold, sterile. The smell of old papers and stale coffee makes me dizzy. The caseworker's voice is gentle, but her eyes are sharp. Olivia, can you tell me about your brother? Do you feel safe at home? I sit there, thin, shaky, hollow. My ribs press against the fabric of my shirt. My mind spins. I know the truth. Craig is the one who made me stop eating. Craig is the one who called the police. Craig is the one who framed Caleb, but I have no proof. No one's listening. And I can't figure out how to protect the only person who's ever truly protected me. Outside the room, Caleb waits, pale-faced, fists clenched. He knows what's at stake. He knows the system could take me away. He knows Craig has flipped the narrative and weaponized the system meant to protect us, using me as a pawn in his sick revenge game. I want to scream that Caleb is the one who loves me most, that he's never hurt me, that he's my entire world. But my voice catches. Tears fall. Because I'm terrified they won't believe me. Terrified they'll take me away. Terrified I'll lose everything. Again. Just like I lost Mom. Just like I lost myself, but Craig doesn't stop there. He reaches out to distant relatives, people who hadn't called once after Mom died. Now they're chiming in with doubt, fed by Craig's lies. Is Caleb really capable of raising her? She looks sick. Maybe it's not safe. Craig turns them into unwitting soldiers in his campaign against us, stacking the deck, tightening the noose. How do you protect the person you love when your enemy controls the very system meant to save you? When every word out of your mouth can be turned into a weapon? That's what we're about to face. As whispers start spreading through school, as isolation closes in like a storm. The whisper campaign at school began to isolate me. Another blow from Craig after he'd weaponized the system, after CPS interviewed me, after he reached out to distant relatives to spread lies and turn our lives into a trap with no exit. It's mid-2023. I'm 13. Caleb's 19. And we're still in Fort Worth, Texas, where the summer heat feels like it's searing my skin, like the pressure weighing down on me every single day. The pressure of watchful eyes, of whispered rumors, of the fear that I'll lose Caleb, the brother who sacrificed everything for me, who held me together after Mom died, who I can't live without, but who's now under threat because of Craig's twisted lies. It starts at Westlake High, a place that used to feel safe, now a battlefield. Whispers move faster than wildfire on a Texas plain, fueled by Craig's manipulations. They say Caleb abused me, that he's a terrible brother, that I'm sickly because he doesn't take care of me, that our family is a mess. Friends I once trusted pull away, their eyes full of doubt, their voices cold. Olivia, is it true? Did your brother really do that to you? I want to scream the truth, that Craig is the one who destroyed me, that Caleb is the one who loves me most, but I can't, because every word I say could be twisted, because CPS is still watching, because I'm terrified they'll take me away, split me from the only person I have left, rip apart the last thread holding me together. Craig doesn't stop at students. He goes after teachers too. Anonymous emails, rumors seeded like poison. Suddenly, teachers look at me with a mix of pity and suspicion, like I'm some broken thing they don't know how to handle. I feel like a caged animal. Nowhere to run, no one to trust, no one to listen. The social workers come back. More interviews, longer sessions, sharper questions. Olivia, are you absolutely sure your brother hasn't done anything wrong? I want to scream, yes, I'm sure. But all I can do is sit there, trembling, tears falling. Because Craig planned this. Because he wants to isolate me, wants to break me, wants to strip Caleb of everything, including me. How do you fight back when your enemy turns the whole world into a weapon? When you're trapped in the middle of whispers that never stop? That's what we'll face. As I make a decision, to confront Craig, to try and catch him confessing, to record the proof that could finally bring him down, I decided to confront Craig, hoping to secretly record him and gather evidence. A reckless move to fight back against the man who had turned the world into a weapon against us. The man who isolated me with whispers at school, who made CPS doubt Caleb, who had twisted every detail in his favor. It was late 2023. I was 13, Caleb was 19, and we were still living in Fort Worth, Texas, where the winter chill crept in like the icy fear in my chest. The fear of losing Caleb, the brother who had sacrificed everything for me, the only person I couldn't live without, now threatened by Craig's lies and the broken system he exploited. I found Craig at a cafe near Westlake High, where he often hung out, his expensive laptop in front of him, that perfectly polished smile still on his face, his sharp eyes hidden behind a mask of charm, like a snake waiting for the right moment to strike. I hid my phone in my jacket pocket, hit record, my heart pounding, hands trembling, voice barely steady as I asked, Craig, why did you do this to me and Caleb? Why did you say I'm a burden? He smiled, voice smooth like a quiet Texas afternoon, but his eyes were cold as ice. I was just telling the truth, Olivia. You think Caleb can carry you forever? You're a burden. A needy little kid. I wanted to scream, to make him admit it all, to get something, anything I could use to protect Caleb. But then he leaned closer, eyes narrowing. What are you doing, Olivia? Don't tell me you're recording this. He moved fast, his hand shooting out, grabbing my phone from my pocket before I could react. I tried to pull it back, but he was stronger. He slammed it down on the table, screen shattering, a sharp crack that felt like my heart breaking apart. Then he grabbed my wrist, squeezing it hard enough to leave bruises, his voice low and dangerous. Don't ever think you can outsmart me, you little brat. You and Caleb are going to pay for throwing me out. I was shaking, tears running down my face, fear and pain colliding in my chest because I had failed. I had no proof. And now Craig was angrier, more dangerous than ever. And Caleb and I were at even greater risk. How do you keep fighting when the enemy is always one step ahead? When every move you make only brings more pain? That's what we'd have to face. Until Jenna, Caleb's ex-girlfriend, came back into our lives with a plan to bring Craig down for good. Jenna, Caleb's ex-girlfriend, showed up with a new plan to take down Craig. A flicker of hope after the painful failure of my attempt to record him. After he smashed my phone and left bruises on my wrist. After I realized the enemy was always one step ahead. It was late 2023. I was 13, Caleb 19, and we were still living in Fort Worth, Texas, where the winter chill seeped into every fingertip, like the fear that still gripped me. The fear of losing Caleb, the brother who had sacrificed everything for me. The one I couldn't live without, the one now under threat from Craig's lies, and the system he had weaponized against us. Jenna came to our apartment one evening, her long brown hair falling over her shoulders, her blue eyes filled with resolve, her voice strong but warm. Caleb, Olivia, we have to do something. Craig can't keep getting away with this. Jenna and Caleb had broken up before Mom died, but she'd never stopped caring about us. She'd always been a part of our little makeshift family, and now she was back, ready to help us fight the man who had torn our lives apart. Caleb filled her in. How Craig had manipulated me, how I'd stopped eating, the whisper campaign at school, CPS, and the looming threat of losing custody. Jenna listened, her hands clenched, her eyes flashing with an idea. I'll get him to say it himself. We need a recording. Jenna's plan was bold, even dangerous. She would pretend to rekindle things with Craig, lure him into a bar in downtown Fort Worth, a place loud and dimly lit, where he wouldn't suspect a thing. She'd get him drunk, get him talking, get him to slip up and confess, all while secretly recording everything with a hidden phone. Something I couldn't bring myself to try again after my last attempt failed. But Jenna was confident. He thinks he's smart, she said, but I'll make him expose himself. He'll never see it coming. Caleb was worried, but he agreed. We all knew this might be our only chance to get real proof, to show that Craig was the one who destroyed me, to save me from CPS, to protect our family, to reclaim the life we'd lost. How do you trust a plan this risky when your enemy is a manipulator who's always one move ahead, when hope is all you have left? That's what we'd face as Jenna walked into that bar, ready to face Craig and fight for justice. Jenna walked into the bar, ready to face Craig and reclaim justice. A bold plan we'd pinned our last hopes on, after I had failed to record him, after he left bruises on my arm, after we realized that only evidence could save Caleb from CPS and Craig's web of lies. It was late 2023. I was 13, Caleb 19, and we were still in Fort Worth, Texas, where the winter cold cut through the skin like fear still wedged deep in my heart. The fear of losing Caleb, the brother who had sacrificed everything for me, the one who'd held me together after Mom died, the one I couldn't live without. But now he was under threat by an enemy we couldn't stop without proof, without justice, without truth. That night in a downtown Fort Worth bar, the atmosphere was loud, the lights dim, the scent of beer and sound of music forming a smoky curtain, and Jenna appeared in a striking red dress, her long brown hair flowing over her shoulders, her sharp blue eyes softened by a seductive smile, one Craig couldn't look away from. He sat at the bar, a drink in hand, his trademark smooth smile on his lips, that cold gleam in his eyes barely hidden behind fake charm. But Jenna knew how to lower his guard, how to get him drunk, how to coax the truth out of him. She poured him drinks, laughed, pretended to be drawn in by his charisma, her voice sweet as syrup. Craig, you're so clever. How did you manage to mess up Caleb and Olivia so bad? You're a genius. He laughed loudly, loosened by the alcohol, his voice cocky and cruel. Easy, Jenna. I told the girl she was a burden, and she stopped eating just like that. Then I called the cops, said Caleb was abusing her. Those CPS morons bought it right away. Now all I gotta do is sit back and watch them destroy each other. Jenna hid her victorious smile. The phone recording every word in her coat pocket captured his confession like a knife. And this time, that knife would turn against him. Instead of handing the recording straight to the police, Caleb played a bigger power card. He went to Craig's wealthy parents in Dallas, the kind of people who cared more about reputation than anything else, the ones Craig relied on to fund his lavish lifestyle. Caleb and Jenna arrived at their luxurious estate, the cold air heavy with silence, golden light spilling over expensive artwork, and Craig's parents sat in their grand living room, their expressions smug, their voices stiff. "What do you want? Our son has nothing to do with your problems." But Caleb didn't flinch. He played the recording. Craig's voice spilled into the room. His confession about manipulating me, about calling CPS, about destroying our lives, each word slicing through their pride like a scalpel. Craig's mother went pale, her hands trembling. His father slammed the table, shouting, "That's enough, Craig. You've disgraced this family. We're cutting you off. No more money, no more support. You're on your own." They cast Craig out of their lives, severed all financial ties, leaving him with nothing. No backup, no influence, no power to keep hurting us. It was the blow that broke him. For the first time, we felt a sliver of relief, a moment of justice, a quiet victory that whispered, "We can win this." But how do you deal with an enemy who now has nothing left to lose, who becomes more dangerous than ever? That's what we'd face next, as Craig launched a smear campaign online, dragging us into a new spiral of chaos. Craig launched an online smear campaign, dragging us into a new spiral, a ruthless move from a man with nothing left to lose. His parents had cut him off. Jenna had recorded his confession, and we thought we'd finally won, that justice had been served. But this was the beginning of a new kind of pain. It was early 2024. I was 13, Caleb 19, and we were still in Fort Worth, Texas, where the winter chill hadn't lifted, a chill that mirrored the fresh agony Craig was inflicting. Pain born from the lies spreading online. Pain from public humiliation. Pain from being watched, judged, and condemned by the world even though we'd done nothing wrong. Even though Caleb had done everything to protect me. Even though we only wanted to live in peace after Mom's death. He posted photos on the Westlake High confession page, images of me at my worst, during the time I'd stopped eating because he'd called me a burden, when my body was skin and bones, when my cheeks were sunken, when my eyes were hollow. Photos I didn't know he'd taken. Photos that made me feel stripped bare in front of the entire world, violated again, turned into a spectacle, a subject for gossip. The caption hit like a blade. "Look at Olivia. This is what her abusive brother Caleb did to her." The rumor spread like wildfire. Classmates looked at me with disgust. Teachers whispered, students pointed. I wanted to run, to disappear, to erase everything, but I couldn't. Those images were scars that wouldn't heal, pain that wouldn't fade. The school and CPS stepped in quickly. Social workers returned. More interviews. Their tone sharper now, more suspicious. "Olivia, are you sure Caleb didn't hurt you? These photos?" I wanted to scream, to speak the truth. That Craig was the one who did this to me. That Caleb was the only one who truly loved me. But I could only cry, trembling because I knew they didn't believe me. I knew they'd been swayed by what Craig had posted. I knew he was using my pain as a weapon to take everything from us, to strip Caleb of custody, to leave me with nothing again. Caleb stood outside the room, pale, fists clenched, his eyes filled with pain because he couldn't protect me from the lies, from the judgment, from the pain Craig continued to inflict. How do you fight someone with nothing left to lose? Someone who's willing to destroy you at all costs, even by exposing your deepest wounds to the world. That's what we had to face as social workers arrived at our apartment again, eyes scanning everything with suspicion. The social worker came to our home, inspecting everything with skeptical eyes. A high-pressure intrusion from the bureaucratic machine, just days after Craig posted my photos online, after he exposed my pain for the world to judge, after he pushed us into the spiral of lies and isolation. It was early 2024. I was 13, Caleb 19, and we were still in Fort Worth, Texas, where the winter chill seeped into our fingers like the anxiety squeezing my chest every minute, the fear that I would lose Caleb, the brother who had done everything for me, the one I couldn't live without, the one now threatened by CPS, by Craig's photos, by an enemy with nothing left to lose, willing to destroy us at any cost. We prepared frantically for the inspection. Caleb scrubbed the apartment down to the smallest corner, dusted every shelf, rearranged the fridge, even bought extra groceries with money we barely had. All to prove we were okay. To prove he was a good guardian. To prove I was safe, even though we both knew the truth. Craig was the one who had broken me, not Caleb. I stood there, hands trembling, my thin frame trying to hold a smile as Mrs. Patel, the social worker, stepped in, her eyes sharp, her voice stern. "Caleb, I'll need to see everything. The fridge, the bedroom, and I'll need to speak to Olivia alone." Caleb nodded, pale, fists clenched, eyes full of worry, because he knew one small mistake could mean they'd take me away, strip him of custody, shatter our fragile family for good. Mrs. Patel examined every detail, opened the fridge, noted the food supply, inspected my bedroom, glanced at old toys and family photos on the wall. Her expression cold, mechanical, like a machine designed to judge but not to feel, blind to the pain we'd endured, blind to the love Caleb had given me. Then she sat down with me, her voice soft but piercing. "Olivia, is there anything you want to tell me? The photos online, do you feel safe?" I wanted to scream, to say Craig was the one who did this to me, to say Caleb was the one who loved me most, but all I could do was shake my head, tears falling, voice cracking. "I feel safe with Caleb, I just want to stay with him." Mrs. Patel looked at me, her eyes softening slightly. She flipped through my food log, read my statement, and I saw a glimmer of hope, a small light that maybe she would believe us. Maybe she would see the truth. How do you prove the truth when the bureaucracy only sees the surface, when your enemy is still attacking from a distance? That's what we had to face next. Tracing an IP address and digging for security camera footage to finally gather real evidence. Tracing the IP address and digging through security camera footage became the turning point in our fight to prove the truth. After Mrs. Patel's skeptical home inspection, after Craig posted those slanderous photos of me online, after the bureaucracy nearly shattered our family. It was early 2024. I was 13, Caleb was 19, and we were still in Fort Worth, Texas, where the winter chill still bit through our skin like the anxiety that had gripped me for months. But now, a flicker of hope was emerging. The hope that we could turn the tide, that we could prove Caleb's innocence, that we could finally make Craig pay for everything he'd done. For the lies, the manipulation, the pain he'd inflicted on me, and on the fragile little family we were trying so hard to protect. Caleb reached out to a friend from Westlake High, a tech-savvy guy named Ryan, and asked him to help trace the IP address of the confession post, the one that featured the photos of me at my worst, weaponized by Craig to smear Caleb and make CPS question his guardianship. Ryan worked quickly, eyes locked on his laptop screen, his voice tight with focus. "Got it. The post came from a coffee shop near campus through public Wi-Fi." My heart pounded as we drove to the cafe, the air inside buzzing with conversation and the rich smell of roasted beans. But all I could think was, this might be it. This might be the key to everything. The proof we need to save Caleb, to reclaim our lives. Caleb spoke urgently to the manager. "We need to see the security footage from that day. Please, this is serious. It's a matter of safety." The manager agreed, and we sat down in front of the monitor, eyes straining as we watched clip after clip, face after face, detail after detail, until we saw him. Craig, sitting in the back corner, his laptop open, that smooth smile on his lips, that calculating glint in his eye, his fingers typing rapidly. It was unmistakable. He was posting those photos, spreading his lies, destroying us from a distance. But this time, the camera had caught it all. Every second, every smirk, every keystroke. He had no idea he'd just dug his own grave. We had the proof, crystal clear. Caleb squeezed my hand, voice trembling. "We did it, Liv. We're taking this to CPS. They'll see the truth now. They'll know I never hurt you." I nodded, tears spilling, not from fear, but from hope. Hope that we were finally winning. Hope that we could protect each other. Hope that this nightmare Craig created might finally be over. But how do you reclaim justice when you've got the proof, but your enemy still refuses to stop, still finds new ways to tear you down? That's what we'd face next. When police raided Craig's place and found a folder labeled Olivia. The police raided Craig's apartment and discovered a folder labeled Olivia, a turning point in our fight for justice. It came after the cafe surveillance footage, after tracing the IP address, after surviving the brutal online smear campaign he unleashed. Spring 2024 was arriving, and the air in Fort Worth was beginning to soften, much like the growing sense of relief in my heart. Relief that Caleb had been cleared. Relief that I no longer had to live in fear. Relief that the person who had made me stop eating, who had tried to destroy our lives, would finally face the consequences. Using the cafe footage as evidence, Caleb took everything to the police. His voice unwavering. "This is the truth. Craig posted the photos. He's been hurting my sister." The police acted swiftly, conducting a search of Craig's apartment on the outskirts of Fort Worth, a cluttered, chaotic space that mirrored his twisted mind. When they opened his computer, they found it. A folder named Olivia. Inside were dozens of secret photos of me, taken during the months I was wasting away, each one used to fuel the lies he spread online. Alongside the photos were emails, messages, and meticulously written plans, like a sick journal, detailing how he would dismantle our lives step by step, word by word, manipulation by manipulation. He had believed he could destroy us without consequences. He hadn't counted on his own arrogance becoming the nail in his coffin. The police called us soon after. Their tone was grave but resolute. "We have sufficient evidence. Craig will be charged with cyberstalking and harassment." Caleb wrapped his arms around me, tears spilling down his cheeks, his voice cracking. "We did it, Liv. We won. I leaned into him, tears sliding silently down my face, my heart finally beginning to feel light again. For the first time in months, I felt safe. I felt like we could live without Craig's shadow haunting us, without the lies, without the pain he had caused. Justice had been served. The man who made me believe I was a burden, who caused the system to doubt Caleb, now had to face the law. He could no longer hurt us. He had become nothing more than a painful memory, one we would learn to live beyond. But how do you reclaim peace after justice is served, when the enemy is gone, but the scars still remain? That's what we had to face next, when the restraining order was issued and a new chapter began for us. The restraining order was issued, marking the beginning of a new chapter for us. A journey to reclaim peace after justice had finally been served, after police found the Olivia folder in Craig's apartment, after he was charged with cyberstalking and harassment. Spring 2024 was arriving, and the chill in Fort Worth had given way to warm sunlight, much like the relief blooming inside me. Relief that Craig could no longer hurt us, that Caleb had been cleared, that I no longer had to live in fear, no longer had to hear the whispers at school, no longer had to worry about being taken by CPS, no longer had to face the lies Craig had so meticulously planted. Craig pled guilty in court, his voice cold, without the faintest trace of remorse. But his eyes had lost that sharp glint. His smug smile was gone. Only the emptiness of a defeated man remained. A man who had lost everything. Family, money, power, and now, his freedom. The court issued a restraining order barring him from contacting me or Caleb, forbidding him from coming near us. A legal wall protecting us from the nightmare he created. A wall that gave us space to breathe, to live, to begin healing from the scars he left behind. Mrs. Patel, the social worker, visited us one final time. Her voice gentle. I recommend we close the case. Olivia is safe and Caleb is an outstanding guardian. I'm proud of you both. Caleb held me tightly, tears in his eyes, his voice cracking. Thank you. We just want a peaceful life. I leaned into him, tears streaming down my cheeks too, my heart warm for the first time in a long while, feeling safe, feeling like we had emerged from the darkness, like we'd reclaimed the light, like we were finding ourselves again after all the pain, all the fear, all the wounds. Craig was now just a memory, a nightmare that had passed, but the scars he left were still there. In the days I stopped eating, in the nights I cried thinking I might lose Caleb, in the judgmental stares at school. But we rose. We fought. We won. And now we could move forward. We could rebuild. We could find joy again, trust again, love again, the things he once tried to steal from us. We had closed a painful chapter, but the journey of healing still lay ahead. A journey we would walk together, as we always had, with Caleb by my side and me by his. How do you begin again after the nightmare ends? When the scars remain, but the love of family becomes the light that leads the way. That's what we'd face as Caleb and Jenna got engaged, opening the door to a brand new future. Caleb and Jenna got engaged, opening the door to a new future. A bright chapter after we finally closed the nightmare Craig had caused, after the restraining order was issued, after justice had been served and the scars began to heal. Summer 2024 filled Fort Worth with sunshine, just like the joy rising in my heart. The joy of seeing Caleb happy, of knowing we had come through the darkness, of feeling that family love was the light guiding us forward, helping us start again, helping me rediscover myself after so many painful days. After the nights I cried afraid of losing him, after the deep wounds Craig had left behind. One warm afternoon, Caleb called me out to the backyard of our apartment, his eyes sparkling, his voice excited. Liv, I've got something to tell you. I proposed to Jenna, and she said yes. I squealed, throwing my arms around him, tears of joy spilling down my cheeks, my heart full, because I knew Jenna loved us. Knew she was part of this little family, knew Caleb deserved happiness after everything he'd sacrificed for me. After all the days he worked at Whataburger to support us, after all the nights he stayed up worrying when CPS threatened to take me away. Jenna stepped outside too, her smile radiant, pulling me into a hug, her voice gentle. Olivia, I want you to help pick our new home. You're an irreplaceable part of this family. I nodded, still crying, but this time from love, from being seen, from feeling like I truly belonged to a future that we would build together. The new house became a symbol of our next chapter. A place with no more ghosts of Craig, no more whispers at school, no more fear of being torn apart. Only love, trust, and hope. We toured a few cozy houses on the outskirts of Fort Worth, homes with green lawns where I could ride the bike Caleb once bought me, where we could hold weekend cookouts, where I could grow up free from the shadows of the past, where Caleb and Jenna could begin their married life with me by their side, as a real family, just like my mom always hoped we'd have. How do you hold on to a fragile happiness when the scars still remain, but the future is finally opening up ahead? That's what we faced as we moved into the new house, rediscovering peace in the quiet moments of ordinary life. Moving into the new house brought us peace in every moment, a fragile but warm happiness. After Caleb and Jenna got engaged, after we found our dream home, after our little family stepped into a new chapter where the scars of the past began to fade. Summer days in Fort Worth were now filled with laughter, sunlight pouring through the windows, illuminating the pristine white walls, lighting up even my heart. A heart once shrouded in the darkness Craig left behind, a heart once gripped by the fear of losing Caleb. But now I knew I had found the light again. I had found happiness. I had found family. On moving day, Jenna and I unpacked boxes together, her laughter ringing out as we opened old memory boxes, photos of Mom, pictures of Caleb and me as kids, keepsakes we had carried from the old apartment, tokens to keep Mom close, to keep the beautiful memories alive. Caleb walked in holding a small photo frame, his voice gentle. "Liv, I found this. It's a picture of Mom. I think you should have it." I took the frame, tears welling in my eyes as I looked at her smile. The smile I hadn't seen since she passed away. A smile that now felt like a quiet reminder that she was still watching over us, that she would be proud to see we'd made it through, that we'd found happiness again, that we'd built a new home, a home I knew she always wanted for us. I held the frame close to my heart, my voice breaking. "Thank you, Caleb. I miss her so much." Caleb smiled, pulling Jenna and me into a hug, his voice warm. "This is what we've always done, right, Liv? Stayed together, no matter what." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. But this time, they were tears of joy, because he was right. We had always stayed together, through the darkest days, through the deepest pain, through every trial Craig had thrown at us. And now we were here, in our new home, surrounded by love and trust, looking ahead to a future I knew would be full of light, full of hope, full of joy. The kind we always dreamed of, the kind Mom always wanted us to live. How do you share this joy? Pass on the lessons from your journey and help others find their own light after the darkness? That's what I hope to do, by sending out a message to the world and inviting others to share their stories too. Sending out a message and inviting others to share their own stories is how I want to spread the joy we found, how I want to share the lessons from our journey. After finding peace in our new home, after Caleb and Jenna got engaged, after our small family survived the nightmare Craig brought into our lives, I know now that light has returned to mine. And I want to share that light with anyone who's ever felt trapped in the dark, anyone who's fought to protect the people they love, anyone who's struggled to stand again after deep pain. This journey isn't just mine. It's the story of anyone who's ever been emotionally manipulated by someone who should have protected them, who's ever been forced into silence, made to feel like a burden, who's ever fought to keep their family whole. I once stopped eating because of Craig's cruel words, once believed I didn't deserve love, once feared losing Caleb, the brother who sacrificed everything to keep me safe. But I made it through. I found the light again. I learned that truth and love are stronger than lies, that family is where you find the strength to rise, that you are never truly alone, no matter how dark it gets. The biggest lesson I want to leave with you is this. Don't stay silent. Don't let pain consume you. Speak up. Reach out to someone you trust. Keep fighting because you deserve to live, to be loved, to be happy, just like Caleb and I did. Just like we found our way out of the darkest days. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been emotionally manipulated by someone who is supposed to protect you? Have you ever had to fight for your family? Or to find yourself again the way I did? Share your story in the comments. Let's break the silence together. Let's help each other find the light again, because your story matters. Your voice has power, and you are not alone. If this journey touched your heart, if it sparked even a flicker of hope, please like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more survival stories from Reddit. Stories that will keep inspiring. Stories that remind you, you can overcome, just like we did.